So AOC, she did an interview that was released today, podcast, at The Intercept. It's called Intercepted, right? And she did this interview with Jeremy Scale, and she talks about Pelosi and Assange. I want to address what she said about Pelosi first, okay? So let's just listen to that. All right, let's take a listen.
Example.
Side of this, but I'm asking, represents an existential threat to our democracy and our democratic processes, which I think a lot of liberals and Democrats would agree with that statement. But then they turn around and they team up with neocons like Liz Cheney, and they pass sweeping surveillance powers for this very president and his soon-to-be departed attorney general. They pass record-shattering military expenditures, but can't get $1,200 to suffering Americans. And I know you've been on the right side of this, but I'm asking, are you ready to say Pelosi and Schumer need to go?
I mean, I think so. I mean, and the question is, like this year, for example, the hesitancy that I have is that I want to make sure that if we're pointing people in a direction, that we have a plan. And my concern, and this I acknowledge as a failing, as something that we need to sort out, is that there isn't a plan. How do we fill that vacuum? Because if you create that vacuum, there are so many nefarious forces at play to fill that vacuum with something even worse. And so the actual sad state of affairs is that there are folks more conservative than even they are willing to kind of fill that void. And so what I'm looking at right now is what steps do we take, both in structural changes, because a lot of this is not just about these two personalities, but they are also about the structural shifts that these two personalities have led in their time in leadership, the structural shifts of power in the House, both in process and rule, to concentrate power in party leadership of both parties, frankly, but in Democratic Party leadership to such a degree that an individual member has far less power than they did 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so, the answer is yes. The answer is we need to shift power. We need to make sure that we have a transition of power in the leadership of the Democratic Party, because I think that the hypocrisy you point out is so animating. Frankly, it's a huge reason why I ran for office and ran against a Democrat, because that hypocrisy can be just so rage-inducing for any person. For me personally, it was when I was waitressing and I would hear Democrats talk about why the Affordable Care Act was so amazing all the time and how this is the greatest thing ever and the economy's doing wonderfully. And frankly, it is the same trick that Trump pulls, which is, people touting the Dow as a measure of economic success when we're all getting killed out here. And so, do we need new leadership of the Democratic Party? Absolutely. But how do we ensure that when we shift, we don't even move further to the right? And that's the kind of thing that keeps me up when I think about what we're going to do moving towards the future.
Yeah.
Okay. That was, just absolute drivel. Absolute drivel. She's saying, yeah, we need to get rid of Pelosi, but, we got to be careful that we don't drift towards something more nefarious. You're already there. What is more nefarious? This woman is the reason you can't even have a vote on Medicare for all. You're already fucked. She gave PPP money, small business money, to dark money groups and lobbyists which you fucking voted for in the HEROES Act. 30 years she's been in government, screwing over workers, covering Bush's ass, Obama's ass, covering up for war crimes and torture. What exactly more nefarious are you waiting for? You see how she's playing the lesser of two evils game again? You have nothing to lose at this point. This is bullshit. This is a bullshit answer. This is horse manure. She's protecting Nancy Pelosi. That is what she's doing. Oh, you know, the time isn't right, and you know, it's just, it doesn't work. Why did you bother running for Congress then? Why are you here? The whole thing with AOC is that she caused a huge upset in the political establishment, right? She got rid of Crowley, who's the number 3 in the Democratic Party. Ironically, he was poised to maybe become speaker himself at some point. She got rid of him. She beat him. So what have you got to lose? You're telling us, oh, we can't do anything. No, that's not an acceptable answer. People who don't have health care are the priority. Do you understand? Moreover, you ran on that, so you have an obligation to them if the moral imperative was not clear enough. Yes? They come first. They come first. You're already at that nefarious place. So if you're going to come here and tell us that you can't do anything, why did you bother running then twice? Why did you bother getting elected to Congress twice just to do this? To come here and say, oh, I can't do anything? Then at least burn it down. At least burn it down. Just like you caused a giant upset by getting rid of Crowley, get rid of Nancy Pelosi. If you get rid of Nancy Pelosi, you will have accomplished more than anything you have done until now. All right? That will be your biggest accomplishment until now, since you obviously can't get any policies done and you won't use any leverage. One of the most popular women politicians, congressperson in the country. I think after Donald Trump, who is the president, she has the most reach online. I mean, that's got to count for something, man. That's got to count for something, right? What is the point of having a progressive caucus of 100+ people if you're not going to act like progressives and you're going to get pussy whipped back in the line and serve the interests of people who do take corporate money, right? Your whole thing is you don't take corporate money, you're special, you're not corruptible. Why are you falling in line with people who are then? How are you any different? This is horse manure. I do not tolerate this. I cannot believe that Americans accept this. Again, I'm not faulting Americans. It's not the average American's fault, but I'm saying this out of pity, right? Out of empathy. This is absurd. Like even you go to a European country, for example, right? Even the most far-right parties would not touch the healthcare system. You just don't go there. This is out of the question. Although, you know, if you look at what Boris Johnson's government has been trying to do with, you know, selling off the NHS to Trump. Anyway, but that's, I covered that. Well, that's a whole other story. But generally speaking, even they don't touch that. I mean, this is obscene. And she's sitting there and giving you excuse after excuse after excuse. Okay, you know what, AOC? I believe you. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. All right? Then fucking quit. Make sure Pelosi loses her seat just out of spite, okay? Since she won't give people health care. I think that's an adequate form of retribution, right? Screw her over then on the way out. At least do that. Can you do that? Nope, she ain't gonna do it. You know as well as I. AOC, the squad, they are all gonna vote for Pelosi. You fucking know it, man. You fucking know it. And once again, I come back to my initial point. How on God's earth can you vote for a war criminal piece of shit like that? How can you do that? Like out of principle, you should not be voting for Nancy Pelosi. Out of principle, you should not even be in the Democratic Party. This is a death cult. These people have caused untold amounts of suffering through sanctions, bombs, deregulation. I mean, I can't even You can't even quantify it. Aren't you ashamed to be part of this institution? What is wrong with you? I mean, this is incompetence at best, if not being complicit at worst. And I want to show you something interesting, right? I want to show you something interesting over here. This is an interview between AOC and Glenn Greenwald. This is before AOC got elected. Pay attention to what Glenn asks her. You ready?
Time left. Let me just ask you a couple of what I hope are quick questions. Your opponent, Congressman Crowley, has been pretty upfront about his hopes to replace Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer in the Democratic top wing of the Democratic leadership once they retire, or maybe even before that. For as long as I can remember, the Democratic Party in the House has been led by Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer. So if you are elected, will you agitate for different leaders leading the Democratic Party in the House caucus, or do you think that Pelosi and Hoyer should continue to be in those leadership positions?
No, I think that we need new leadership. I think the idea that we should have the same leadership for more than one generation is probably a mistake in American politics in general. You know, when I think about my opponent trying to take Nancy Pelosi's seat, it's like, why? Like, what has he done? And I think that what we need to really look at and value, and you know, it goes back down to the idea of valuing fundraising and equating fundraising with leadership. And they're not the same thing. I think that we really need to start kind of changing our standards for leadership and what we define and what we respect as a party. And it's not to say that you know, it's not to speak to Pelosi's leadership, but it's to say, you know, what company oftentimes has the same CEO for 20 years? Or, you know, it's very rare that that happens. And what government has a president for the same president for 20 years? And the idea that the third most powerful seat in the country should just be rotated in and out by the same two people for generations, I think is a mistake in our government. Government is supposed to be responsive. And I'm just kind of inclined to think that we should be responsive in our leadership as well.
So my last.
Thank you. Wow. That was refreshing. That was refreshing. By the way, definitely go watch that interview, because Glenn also asked her about Palestine. Great answer. I'm being serious. She gave a great answer on it. Like really put that into perspective. And here as well, great answer. Where is it? Where is it, AOC? Where is it? You know, this is just, it's unfathomable to me. It's unacceptable. I just don't tolerate this, you know? What is the point of running for Congress twice if you're just going to sit there and spout excuses instead of holding these assholes who won't even give your constituents health care? What is the point? Why did you bother running for Congress just to sit there and give excuses as to why you can't get this done? What, you just want to be on the cover of Vanity Fair? What's the point? I don't get this. Hold on one second. I'm not even sure if my mic is my mic muted? No, I think it's on. Okay. Once again, let me reiterate. What is the goddamn point of you running for Congress, not once, twice, if you're going to come here and lecture people and give them excuses as to why you can't provide them with health care? Why did you do this? I mean, you could have just given up from the get-go. You could have just said, look, I'm not running because it's pointless. We can't get a floor vote. And, you know, I mean, I don't know who can replace Nancy Pelosi. So, you know, it's just, yeah, why bother, right? What's the point of trying? Do your fucking job. Your job is not to go on the cover of Vanity Fair. All right. It's not to come here and lecture people, lecture the peasants. Yeah. The common folk as to why they can't have health care during a pandemic when millions of people are suffering. That's not your job. You were elected on a number of policies and you haven't followed through on any of them. You got nothing to show for it. You're a public servant. Do your fucking job. You people got money to go and bomb Arabs. You just passed the NDAA. I know she didn't vote for it, but you got money to go bomb Arabs. You got money to kill people overseas. Billions of dollars, but you ain't got money to give your own citizens health care during a pandemic. This is unacceptable. I don't tolerate this bullshit. You know, if you got a problem with Jimmy Dore, leave Jimmy Dore alone. He's right. But if you got a problem with him, take it from me. I'm not even American. I'm here to tell you something, man. Your politicians are fucking you over, every single one of them. This is nonsense. This is bullshit. This is unacceptable. This is not tolerated in any other country. They are playing you, man. They are taking you for suckers. And the people that are calling themselves progressive journalists or leftists that are running cover for them and justifying this kind of behavior are fucking bootlickers. You people are fucking bootlickers. That's what you are. You're not supposed to coddle them. You're supposed to help pressure them. It's your fucking job. If not now, then when? C'est pas possible, ça. You know, you want to come here and tell me, oh, it's just one congresswoman. Oh, it's just it's just a squad. They're just 4 people. Bullshit. Bullshit. They got her so scared. They got Pelosi so scared she started dumping corporate money into their opponents. These congresswomen, these 4 congresswomen that you say have no power, have more influence than half of DC combined. Speaking of the House, right? Most people have no clue who's in Congress. Most of these Congress people, these senators, are fucking unheard of. No one knows who the hell they are. Don't come here and give me this bullshit. I don't tolerate this, man, for 1 second. Unreal, man. Unreal. I swear to God. And she gonna sit there and act like she don't know what we're talking about. Really? Really? You're gonna sit there and act like you don't know. So let me just show you the